Hello everyone, it is me, Dr. Laserbeam, and this is League of Legends 101, where I go over certain parts of the game, League of Legends. Today we'll be talking about Season 7 Masteries. I'll be telling you guys what each mastery does, when to choose them, and how to apply them in-game. For those of you new to the game, or just rusty in general, masteries are perks you can gain according to whatever you put your points into. Ferocity, the red page, is for aggressive damage-based perks. Cunning, the purple page, is for burst or utility-based perks. Resolve, the dark blue page, is for defensive, utility, and tanky-based perks. I shall soon explain what each perk does, but for now understand that each perk costs either a single point or 5 points to gain all of its benefits. You could split the points if you wish, but I highly advise against it for most, but not all perks. So, for the sake of this video, I will be only telling the full potential of each perk, rather than how much each point put into it gives. Now, without further ado, it's time to talk about the perks. First, we shall start with Ferocity. In the Tier 1, we have Fury and Sorcery. Fury gives 4% increased attack speed, and Sorcery gives 2% ability power. This is a very straightforward decision. If you're AD, go with Fury. If you're AP, go with Sorcery. For Tier 2, we have Fresh Blood, Feast, and Expose Weakness. Fresh Blood causes your first basic attack to deal an extra 10 damage and increases this damage by 1 per level with a 6-second cooldown in between. Feast grants you 20 HP upon killing a unit with a 30-second cooldown. And Exposed Weakness makes enemies take 3% more damage from allied champions when you hurt them yourself. You'll want to get Fresh Blood for trading in any lane. This perk will help in trading overall and just give you more damage. This is also fantastic for junglers who look to gank more than they farm. Feast seems to be aimed at junglers since 20 HP isn't that much in lane considering the 30-second cooldown. You'll still want to get Feast if you are in jungle and your champion does not have much sustain. It could also help out in the laning phase should you feel that you need it, but I wouldn't advise it over Fresh Blood in most situations. Exposed Weakness is best taken when your champion has AoE damage or is not the primary carry for your team. This would work especially well for mage supports as well as more supportive mid laners. For Tier 3, we have Vampirism and Natural Talent. Vampirism gives you 2% lifesteal and Spell Vamp. Natural Talent, on the other hand, gives you 2 attack damage and also 0.4 attack damage per level. You also gain free ability power and 0.67 per level. Upon reaching level 18, you gain both 10 extra damage and 15 extra ability power. Vampirism would be good on sustained mages and ADCs if they feel like they don't get a lot of lifesteal in their builds or just want more survivability in lane. Natural Talent is more straightforward and a general perk that especially works well if a champion's kit benefits greatly from both AD and AP. Basically, if you don't require much lifesteal or spell vamp, then Natural Talent is the way to go. It would not hurt, however, to get Vampirism for survivability in lane, or if you just want to add to your own lifesteal stats. In Tier 4, we have Bounty Hunter, Double-Edged Sword, and Battle Trance. Bounty Hunter gives you 1.5% increased damage for each unique enemy champion you have killed. Double-Edged Sword gives you 5% more damage, but you also take 2.5% more damage. Battle Trance gives you 5% increased damage over 5 seconds when in combat with enemy champions. Bounty Hunter is good for any role that tends to get a lot of kills, such as ADC mid or high damage junglers. As long as you get the kills, this is the safest perk to get. This will not help much in the early game, but considering you kill all of your enemy opponents at least once, it will benefit you the most in the late game. Double-Edged Sword is a fairly low risk high reward perk as far as perks go. While you take 2.5% more damage, you deal double of that back at your opponents, which is an absolutely fantastic deal. As long as you're able to actually deal the damage and not get nuked, this perk is definitely worth the honestly small risk. This provides the most straightforward damage and helps you win the early game the most. Battle Trance is a new perk that seems pretty good for longer battles. It gives you the same increased damage as Double-Edged Sword does, but without forcing you to take more damage. Considering you don't get nuked immediately in a teamfight, this perk is the best out of free for longer trades and teamfights overall, if not at the cost of more damage in the early game. In Tier 5, we have Burying Blows versus Piercing Thoughts. Burying Blows gives you 7% armor penetration, while Piercing Thoughts gives you 7% magic penetration. Like Tier 1, this is a very simple decision. If you are AD, go Burying Blows. If you are AP, then go Piercing Thoughts. At Tier 6, we have Warlord's Bloodlust, Fervor Battle, and Deathfire Touch. Warlords gives you lifesteal based on your missing health when attacking enemy champions. It caps at 20% and works 50% effectively versus minions and 25% for ranged champions. Fervor Battle gives you a Fervor stack when attacking enemy champions with basic attacks. Each stack gives you 1d6 AD per stack up to 10 stacks. Deathfire makes your damaging abilities deal a magic damage bleed to enemies over 4 seconds. It deals 8 damage as well as 60% bonus attack damage and 25% ability power. Warlord's Bloodlust is best used by those of us who are looking for survivability and free lifesteal. This is the best perk to choose for surviving in lane and is more for the hard-hitting champions. It is also the safer pick for ADCs. Fervor Battle is aimed directly at attack speed based carries. The faster you can attack, the more damage you do with Fervor, which makes this a fantastic idea for attack speed based carries such as Jinx and Twitch, but it is also fine for slower champions as well, if not as effective. Deathfire Touch benefits greatly from champions who do damage over time, as mages who are ADCs who don't benefit greatly from the other keystones in Ferocity, such as Varus or Jhin. Now onto the Cunning tree. In Tier 1, we have Wanderer and Savagery. Wanderer gives you 3% movement speed out of combat, while Savagery gives your single target based attacks and spells bonus magic damage to minions and monsters. Wanderer is the to-go choice if you are not playing jungle, as Savagery is aimed directly at jungle champions, therefore the decision is easy. If you are jungle, go Savagery. If not, go Wanderer. In Tier 2, we have Runic Affinity, Secret Stash, and Assassin. Runic Affinity makes your buffs from neutral monsters last 15% longer. Secret Stash makes your potions and elixirs last 10% longer. Also, health potions are replaced with biscuits that instantly give 15 mana and health, as well as the normal benefits. Assassin makes you deal 2% increased damage to enemy champions when no allies are nearby. These free perks are all easy decisions based on what role you're playing. Runic Affinity is a must-have for junglers, and Assassin is literally meant for assassins looking for the solo kills. Secret Stash is meant literally for everyone and everything else, but in particular laners. In Tier 3, we have Merciless and Meditation. Merciless makes you deal 5% increased damage to champions who are below 40% health. Meditation, on the other hand, makes you regenerate 1.5% of your missing mana every 5 seconds. Merciless is great for finishing off low health opponents and should be taken by high damage champions and energy based champions. Meditation is for those of us who need mana desperately early game or simply want to have the mana to poke unrelenting in the early game. In Tier 4, we have Greenfire's Gift, Bandit, and Dangerous Game. Greenfire's Gift makes your next basic attack deal 3% of the target's current health as bonus magic damage when stepping in a brush. Bandit makes you gain 1 gold for each minion killed by an ally. You also gain 3 gold for hitting enemies with ranged basic attacks, and 10 if you're melee, with a 5-second cooldown. Dangerous Game makes your champion kills and assists restore 5% of your missing health and mana. Greenfire's Gift is great for champions who benefit from being in the brush, such as Teemo and Rengar, but could also be beneficial for those of us who wish to trade in lane via brushes. Every role but mid will greatly benefit from this in terms of trade, but only if you're able to actually poke your lane opponent with it. Bandit should be only taken if you are support. If you are support, this is a must-have, although we may see Greenfire's Gift become meta for poke supports, although it's not certain. Dangerous Game is great for those of us who are looking to stay in the game after gaining a kill or assisting in the kill. This would benefit junglers especially due to their high kill participation rate and could be used by carries for the extra oomph to stay in the fight after taking a beating. In Tier 5, we have Precision and Intelligence. Precision gives you 8.5 lethality and free magic penetration. You also gain 0.3 magic penetration per level. Intelligence gives you 5% cooldown and increases your cooldown cap to 45%. The choice between these two comes down to what your champion needs more. If your champion greatly benefits from cooldown, then Intelligence is the way to go. If you do mixed damage or don't require much cooldown, then Precision is the way to go. Also, when it comes down to damage, Precision is better for more straightforward damage, while Intelligence is better for damage over time. In Tier 6, we have Stormrayer's Surge, Thunderlord's Decree, and Windspeaker's Blessing. When you have Stormrayer's Surge, if you deal 30% of a champion's health within 2.5 seconds, you gain 40% movement speed and 75% slow resistance for 3 seconds with a 10-second cooldown. Thunderlord's Decree makes your third basic attack or spell against the same enemy champion have Thunder strike down upon them and deals 10 damage per level, 30% of your bonus AD, and 10% of your ability power with a 25 to 15 second cooldown based on your level. And Windspeaker's Blessing makes your shields and heals 10% stronger. Shields or heals on allies also grant them bonus armor anywhere between 5 to 22 based on their level. They also gain half that armor they gained as magic resist and lasts 3 seconds. Stormrayer's Surge is best used by very bursty champions such as Talion or Nasus. It should not be used by ADCs as they should be putting most of the points into Ferocity. Thunderlords is a safe and guaranteed way to deal extra damage to an enemy and perhaps gain the edge in trading with one. It is a reliable keystone and a favorite among many players. This should be used by mages, poke supports, and anything in between. A few, but not many ADCs also use Thunderlords for its safe and quite good damage. Windspeaker's Blessing is basically reserved for healing and shield-based supports. If you don't have healing or shields, then you should avoid this keystone. Now onto the Resolve tree. We have the Tier 1 to go over first, which is Recovery and Unyielding. Recovery gives you 2 health regen per 5 seconds, while Unyielding gives you 5% bonus magic resist and armor. Unyielding is great for the more tanky champions who tend to build a lot of armor and magic resist. If you are not very tanky, then Recovery should be taken instead, especially for the early game. Now onto Tier 2. We have Explorer, Tough Skin, and Siege Master. Explorer gives you 15 movement speed in Brush and River. Tough Skin makes you take 2 less damage from champions and neutral monster basic attacks. Siege Master gives you 8 magic resist in armor when near an allied tower. Explorer is best used by anyone who roams or likes to put a lot of focus into Dragon and Baron control rather than winning lane. It is especially good in particular for roaming supports and gank over farm oriented junglers. Tough Skin is best used by farm heavy junglers without much sustain. This could also be used in lanes in which basic attacks will be the primary source of poking. Siege Master is great for laners, especially when they are near their own towers. It will keep you protected and give you extra defense that you could need. This could be the to-go perk for almost all lanes going into the Resolve tree. In Tier 3, we have Runic Armor versus Veteran Scars. Runic Armor makes your shields, healing, regeneration, and lifesteal 8% stronger, while Veteran Scars just gives you 50 health. The decision between these two comes down to a very simple question. Do you use shields, healing, or lifesteal a lot? If the answer is yes, then go Runic Armor. If not, go Veteran Scars. In Tier 4, we have Insight, Perseverance, and Fearless. Insight makes your summoner spells cooldown reduced by 15%. Perseverance gives you 50% increased base health regen and is increased to 200% if you're below 25% of your health. Fearless gives you 10% bonus armor and magic resist when damaged by an enemy champion for 2 seconds with a 9-second cooldown. You also gain 2 plus bonus armor and magic resist for this perk per level. Insight is best for champions who tend to rely on their spells being up or a top lane where teleport is common. As a matter of fact, if you have teleport, this should be a must-have due to the insane 45-second cooldown it grants when picked up. Anyways, Insight is in my opinion the best general non-keystone perk in the game. However, Fearless, the other perk in this tier, is not shy in comparison, which I'll get to in a minute. Perseverance is best used by those of us who benefits greatly from health regen, such as Mundo or Garen. Could also be taken for those of us looking for survivability in lane, but compared to the other two options, I would not advise it. Fearless is best used to get better trades and the more tanky champions in League. This perk overall, however, is pretty good on any champion in League and has just as much versatility as Insight on this tier. When it comes down to choosing between these two, it's entirely up to you if you value your spells more or a champion's defensive stats more. In Tier 5, we have Swiftness versus Legendary Guardian. Swiftness gives you 15% tenacity and slow resist, while Legendary Guardian gives you plus free armor and magic resist for each nearby enemy champion. Swiftness will benefit you greatly against CC heavy comps and assisting you from enemy ganks. Legendary Guardian, on the other hand, is best used for teamfights and especially for frontline champions. This will benefit you in the teamfights better, while Swiftness will benefit you better in laning. However, if you are playing someone who isn't CC focused in the teamfight, Legendary Guardian should be for you. If you are focused, then Swiftness is better. In Tier 6, we have Grasp of the Undying, Courage of the Colossus, and Bond of Stone. Grasp of the Undying, when used, makes your next basic attack in combat against an enemy champion deal damage according to 3% of your max health in magic damage and heals you for 1.5% of your max health. This is halved for ranged champions. Courage of the Colossus gives you a shield for 10 with an additional 10 health per level and 7% of your max health on top of that for each nearby enemy champion for 4 seconds after hitting the enemy with hard CC with a 30-second cooldown. Bond of Stone gives you 4% damage reduction and 6% of the damage taken by your closest ally from an enemy champion is directed back at you. Damage is not directed to you if you're below 5% of your maximum health. Grasp of the Undying is best used for melee champions and in particular fighters and some tanks in top lane. This will help you in trading greatly and help gain the edge in lane. This is also good for melee supports against our melee supports. Courage of the Colossus is best used by those of us who are playing hard CC diving champions. This will give you the extra defense and the thickness of a battle and is undoubtedly best for tanks. This won't help you much in winning laning phase, but it will certainly help in teamfights later on in the game. And Bond of Stone is directly aimed at tanky supports, as tank supports should have no problem having damage redirected to them. But with the addition of Courage of the Colossus and the fact that many tanky champions have hard CC, this may not be the best keystone to get even as a tank support. Add this on top of the fact that tank supports are also leaning towards Grasp of the Undying as well, and we are looking at possibly the weakest keystone in the resolve tree. This perk, I think, will probably get buffed or replaced entirely, but for those of you who wish to use it, it is best for tanky supports and tanks without hard CC with a few that are around. I will now give you guys the most important perks and keystone to get for each role and each type of champions in each role. For support tanks, you should go 18 into Resolve and 12 into Cunning. Between the keystones, any of them are good, but ironically Bond of Stone, which was meant for supports in the first place, isn't a must-have. In many situations, Grasp and Strength of the Colossus could prove to be much more valuable. Secret Stash and Bandit are must-haves, and anything else is either debatable or situational. For Mage, Heal, or Shield supports, you should go 18 into Cunning and 12 into Resolve. For the keystone is easily Windspeaker's Blessing. Bandit, Secret Stash, and Runic Armor will also be critical in your decision for your masteries. Intelligence and Meditation are also good, and anything else is simply preference. For Poke Mage supports, you should go 18 into Cunning and 12 into Ferocity, with Thunderlords as your keystone. Bandit is good in general for supports, but Greenfather may prove to be an effective poking and trading tool in lane. Secret Stash is a must-have, and Exposed Weakness will enable your carries to deal a nice extra amount of damage in teamfights. For ADC, you should go 18 into Ferocity and 12 into Cunning. Your keystone for your average ADC comes down to the question if you want the early game advantage or late game advantage. If the answer is early game, go Warlords. If it's late, go Fervor. Deathfire Touch is reserved for spell-based ADCs such as Jhin or Varus. The tier 4 Ferocity row is completely up to you, and Secret Stash is a must-have. Anything else is debatable or situational. For tank junglers, you should go 18 into Resolve and 12 into Cunning. Your keystone should be Shadow of the Colossus, but Bonded Stone is fine if not odd as well. Your Cunning tree is fairly straightforward, but the Resolve tree is up to your playstyle and what champion you are using. Runic Armor should be used for self-healing champions such as Zac, and Siege Master pretty much does not apply to you. For snowballing junglers, you could go 18 into either Resolve or Cunning, and 12 into either as well. It's really just depending on your champion, but in all instances, Bounty Hunter, Fury, Runic Affinity, Savagery, and Precision will all be necessary to your snowballing success. For Mage Junglers, I suggest going 18 into Cunning and 12 into Ferocity, with either Stormbearers or Thunderlords as your keystone. Mage Junglers have different playstyles and preferences, so when it comes down to it, if you're trying to feed yourself and make yourself do a lot of damage, or if you want the team to do more damage when you're deciding on your perks, is the main question. Mages have the most wide and available legitimate paths that they can follow in the Mastery tree. They can go 12 into any of the trees, and go 18 into Cunning and Ferocity, and still be effective. When it comes down to it, it really depends on what your champion's kit demands, and if you are a team player mage, a damage over time mage, or just a bursty mage. For fighters, you will want to go 18 into Resolve and 12 into Ferocity. Grasp the Undying should be your keystone, and Battle Trance, Swiftness, Siege Master, and Veteran Scars will prove to be of great value to you. Tanks will want to go 18 into Resolve and 12 into Cunning. Their keystone mastery should be Courage of the Colossus, with a few odd ones going Grasp the Undying. A tank's mastery path is fairly straightforward, except for the certain outsiders such as Mundo and Garen for the health regen masteries. This has been League of Legends 101. Please let me know if you found this video to be helpful, and I hope this guide will allow all of you to have a great 2017 League season.